This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 in order. Additional terms apply.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, their songwriting techniques, and occasionally getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. Welcome to episode 141. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is Hanson. The pop rock band of brothers returned with their 11th studio record this May, entitled Red, Green, Blue. In today's episode, we're speaking with Isaac Hanson about the concept of recording the album in thirds, the band's 30th anniversary, and their tour plans for Australia. Here we go. Our guest today is 1/3 of one of the most famous family bands of the last 30 years. Having sold over 16 million records and toured the world countless amounts of times, they're gearing up to release their 11th studio record in May, entitled Red, Green, Blue. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours from the band Hanson, Isaac Hanson. Hello.
Hello, good to be here.
Thank you very much for joining us. Where are you joining us from today?
I'm actually here at our office/studio in downtown Tulsa, which is where we're from. Happen to be here, not on tour yet, but this is where we make a lot of the music and in some way or another, I guess you say, make the magic happen. Something like that.
It does look very cool. I'm not sure. I'll explain, or we'll put a video up for our social media, but the studio kind of area where you're in is looking particularly on brand with the RGB behind you.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, that's the upside of this album being also a color format, is that there's always red, green, and blue lights available that you can use to accent the ambiance.
100%.
In fact, actually, while we were making this record, just to kind of be on theme, we actually had red, green, and blue candles that we were always keeping lit. It was just kind of a quirky little thing that we did.
I like that. I kind of think it adds to like the process, if you will.
Absolutely. Vibe is important. Our eyes and our ears process things very, very differently. And actually, as much as I hate to say it, being a musician and all, our brains spend a lot more energy on what they see than what they hear. And so it's important to create a feeling around you visually that properly sets you in the mood for what it is you're doing creatively. And I will say, a lot of parts of this record definitely reminded me of that. And I'm very grateful to the people that we were working on the record with, because they really helped to make sure that was well cared for.
Of course. It is the record that we're referring to. It is a brand new record from Hanson coming out in late May, I believe. Yeah. Which is very exciting. It's the 11th studio album, if I've counted correctly, 11th or 12th.
Yeah, it depends on exactly which ones you count. Yeah, because, the Christmas records are obviously studio records, so those do really count. This is something. Is this the 8th? Yeah, this is not counting the kind of the Christmas records. I think one of the things. Yeah, this would be that. I think your number is right. I'm sorry, I'm rambling on and on. I'm also
no.
I said I said to you, I'm the technical brother. There I go, being technical, trying to decide which songs and albums to count in which categories.
I can very much appreciate the categorizing of studios, but then also the holiday albums as well. I can very much appreciate that.
Yeah.
I guess as we're talking about it, there are numerous records, and we are right at the start of the album cycle. It's about to come out in May. We have some singles out, which we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
Do you yourself and the band have like kind of maybe not protocol, like any rituals or anything that you do at the start of each album cycle to kind of get you ready for what's ahead?
Well, that's a great question. And truth is, we probably should have more than we do, but I will say more than anything, this record is unique in a way that I don't think any other record really has been. We divided this record into 3 parts in some way in honor of the 30th anniversary that we're celebrating as a band. It's been about 25 years since people have really known our band, since our first kind of major record, which had songs like MMMBop on it back in the late 90s. But we've been performing together, writing together, making records together for 30 years as of this year. And so because of the difference in the way that we broke up the record into 3 parts and decided for each brother to kind of be the executive producer, primary writer of each portion of the record, it's both been kind of a new kind of enlightening experience, and also definitely broken up a few rituals. We've never released 3 singles before we released a record, so there's that,
Yeah, 100%. The as you just mentioned, the record is broken up into thirds. There's Taylor doing the first 5, yourself doing the middle 5, I believe, and then Zach with the tail end of the 5. And it's quite an interesting kind of concept in terms of that. You get to go off and write 5 and then come back and it's still all of you performing. But where did that concept come from? And I guess, how was it something that's been discussed before in terms of album ideas?
Yeah, it actually is an idea that had come up a few different times over the years, but it just didn't quite make sense, both where we were creatively as well as just kind of timing, and it just never quite clicked with everybody. And then as we were talking about this 30th anniversary, and also I think we were having a little bit of creative fatigue too. We've done this thing a certain way for a very long time, and I think we all kind of felt a need to kind of break the mold a little bit and say, all right, okay, we gotta kind of like challenge ourselves in a new way. And really give each other a certain level of, I would say, even trust in a sense. Like, hey, man, it's going to be cool because we're all writers, we're all singers. I mean, people know us as a band who sings, right? And so the idea that each one of us would exclusively sing lead on a third of the record is something that we've kind of done, but never deliberately quite in that way, and never deliberately said before the record was even recorded, okay, a third, go for it. And I think all of those things contributed to making a really interesting record, and something that was both challenging, and also known as intimidating even, and broke some certain norms, but also I think affirmed things that we know about ourselves and each other at the same time. It was a creative endeavor for sure that I in hindsight, I think we're going to learn even more about ourselves after this process is done than even we've already learned in making it. So it's been really cool.
Were there any ground rules kind of set out, like when you kind of went, this is what we're doing? Was there any rules, any kind of procedures put in place before you guys went off and did your thing separately?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think this is probably the first record in which we have really had rules in that kind of way. I think all of us didn't know exactly how it would go, but we all said, okay, we're going to break this record into 3 parts. It's going to be 5 songs apiece, or at least that's where we're starting. And each one of us need to decide what that looks and feels like. We've all grown up with similar influences, but we're also different. We're a different band than we were 30 years ago. I mean, there are many things that are similar, but hey, man, if you're not evolving, you're dying. And so we've been, I think, evolving a lot more than we even realized and even gave ourselves credit for. And I think this process allowed for us to kind of paint, forgive the pun, I guess, in bold colors, really boldly, like this is a certain thing and this is a certain thing. And I think it allowed for everybody to grow and to express themselves in unique ways. I think we didn't originally think that we would each just take on the songwriting completely by ourselves, but it became really clear that in order for us to do things differently, we had to make sure that as many of those common crutches maybe were not used. It's not that I didn't find myself going, man, I wonder what Taylor or Zach will think about this lyric, or et cetera, and we did share song ideas in various, stages, but it was really more like a, hey, here's feedback, not here's my vote. And if you don't choose my idea or vote, I'm going to get mad. It was more like, hey, here's my feedback. Take it for what it's worth. It's your portion of the record. And that in and of itself is a unique thing. We historically are very round table King Arthur style about it, trying to get everybody's vote in and trying to make sure everybody agrees. And in this particular case, I guess you could say we almost allowed a level of discontent, which is unusual. But it was important. It was important to say, hey, Tay, here's the deal. Here's my thought. But if you don't like it, then you got the veto power. You can, you can kick my idea out. And I'm not going to harp on giving you too much feedback other than, hey, what do you want me to play? Hey, what do you want me to sing? Hey, that's a cool song idea,
I think that's very cool. And I think the concept is kind of unique in a way that it does. Yeah, it allows you guys to kind of like, I guess, maybe more so flex those songwriting chops without the previous, as you just mentioned, the previous kind of structure around it.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. And I mean, we love collaborating with each other. And the truth is, one of the things that I learned more than I thought I would from this process was how much the three of us together creates a unique thing that is different than the three of us as individuals. It's like when you've been doing the same thing over and over again, constantly throwing stuff off of each other, constantly asking about lyrical feedback or, the kinds of grooves that maybe Zach would naturally play in a certain circumstance, all these kind of things, they contribute significantly to the end result. But when you change the context in which that input is available or created, it evolves the process not just of songwriting but also of recording, and the outcome.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
At BlueNile.com, you can find endless ways to make your moments sparkle. From classic and timeless jewelry gifts to creating the custom engagement ring of her dreams. All at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. And right now, you can save up to 40% on fine jewelry and 25% on engagement ring settings during the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale going on now. Go to BlueNile.com to shop the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale and save up to 40%. That's BlueNile.com.
Is It's really cool. I mean, I'm really, really proud of this record for all the reasons. Both proud of my brothers for taking it on and doing what they did, and also it's in a weird way, it's like a weight off of my shoulders in a different way, where it's like I've never really allowed myself to stretch the wings that I stretched personally on this album, and I think actually Taylor and Zach as well. I don't think they'd either, really felt that same kind of creative difference before. So it's been fun.
Yeah, 100%. The new single that is out this week is your single, Write Your Song. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess what was the catalyst or the idea behind this song?
Well, it's funny because I hate being the literal brother, but I kind of am.
The technical and the literal
in an
brother.
Interesting situation. Yeah. I guess they kind of go together. But a few days before this song was written, my now 8-year-old daughter, the day of release is actually her birthday. Interestingly enough, it was not intended to be that way, but her birthday is March 11th, and that's the day this song comes out. The song is about her, and the song was written for her. She, a few days before the song got written, in a very cute but also very emotional, 7/8-year-old way, looked at me and said, "Daddy, I have no songs. You don't write me any songs." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I started playing her different things and stuff, and it just wasn't good enough. It just, she needed some level of affirmation that I had not already given to her. And a very, very good friend of ours named Paul McDonald, who is a fantastic artist who's actually done a bunch of shows with us over the years. He's kind of one of our favorite guys to have on the road. And he was coming through Oklahoma on the road doing solo acoustic gigs during pandemic time. And he stopped at my house, stayed over, we hung out, and my daughter, being the extrovert that she is, was just in on all the conversations. She was just there. She was ready to talk. She was ready to hang. And then the next morning, Paul came up to me and said, "Hey, man, what if we wrote a song about the idea that songs are full of memories? And like, what if we wrote a song that was just basically like, I'm going to write you a song, I'm going to write a song all about these memories." And that's what the song is about, is literally the idea that I'm writing you a song. I was like, wow, that's a really cool idea. And he started this idea. He was like literally in my backyard, strumming along. And he comes in, he goes, "What about this?" I'm like, "Okay, you don't know the story, but my daughter said 2 days ago, 'Daddy, you never write me any songs.' So this is the one." This is like, Providence showing up in the backyard. Yeah. So we worked on that song that day, got most of the song done. My daughter was there with us about half the time. So she was continually, part of the inspiration. And then in good daddy form, I also put her at the end of the song too, because she sang along and loved singing along the first day we wrote it. And so there's a little clip of her singing the song, and she's actually in the music video too. I just went all the way. I just said, "All right, this is your song. This is about you. This is about, living memories, and reliving them through the melody and through the song. So here you go." And it was a lot of fun to write. It was a lot of fun to do the video. And so now she's got nothing. She can never look at me and say, "Dad, you don't love me. You never write me any songs." Tough noodles. You got one.
I was going to ask what the reception was like now that you have, now that you've written it and obviously include all those things. But I imagine that it's been received quite well. Hopefully.
Oh, she's thrilled. The really funny part about making the video was, so I told her ahead of time. I said, "All right, this is what we've decided to do, and would you be willing to be in it. And of course, she was very excited about this idea. I mean, at first she got a little bit nervous. She went, "What do you want me to do?" And I was like, "Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to because my daughter and I have periodically, since she was quite young, since she was probably about 5, we've gone on daddy-daughter dates, and it's basically an excuse to go to get ice cream or something like that. But we'll do stuff where it's just her and I, and we'll sit down and we'll talk. And so she says to me, "Well, what are we going to do?" I say, "Well, we're going to go on a daddy-daughter date, but we're just going to film it, and we're just going to have fun." And so we added a few little bits and pieces to make it extra interesting, like it was her first time sitting on the bare back of a horse, which she loved. And this was a giant Arabian horse. I mean, a beautiful, beautiful, stunning animal. So she was enthralled by that. And there were a few other things, bowling and just fun stuff that was easy to do. And it really shows, I think, her personality and the way that she and I relate to each other. But more than that, I think it's just the way that I think all of us want to be able to engage with our kids, anybody that has kids. It's all about those moments. It's all about the simple things. It's all about going to dinner and getting ice cream and just having a chat and knowing that you're engaged in their life and giving them the opportunity to clearly see that.
Yeah, 100%. I'm very curious because, as you mentioned just earlier before, we are going into 30 years of Hanson, 25 since the major label debut, but 30 years of Hanson, I think, firstly, has to be congratulated. So congratulations, because it is a very decent amount of time.
Yeah. Well, I'm 41, and we've been doing this for 30 years. So that's a long time. We're kind of at the point where I just basically have no memory of anything other than being in a band.
I can imagine that kind of is a bit of an interesting feeling, because although you've been doing it for 30 years, I imagine the process along the way obviously has changed. But is there anything that you prefer, a process you prefer now to back then, and possibly vice versa?
Right. Well, I have to say performing is probably my favorite thing to do, and probably always has been. Mm-hmm. I'm a pretty extroverted person and really like people as a whole. So that plays well to, the process of performing. But second only to that, I think is probably making records with other people. I really actually like making records almost more than writing songs, which is interesting. To me, it's really fun to be the cheerleader, the kind of guy that sees something that someone else doesn't, and going, "Hey, wait, right there, that's the spot." As the pre-fan kind of reaction, my instinct is that's the spot you should go there. In a lot of ways, that's also a role I've played in the band a lot. I didn't quite realize that as much until we were making this record, which is I'm often the guy walking in going, "Hey, Tay, that's a really cool song idea. We need to work on that. Hey, Zach, I'm tending to be that guy as a whole." And so that plays well to kind of producing records and stuff. And I've done a little bit of it. I ended up producing a record for my friend Jacob Tovar. It's a old school, like honky tonk style country record, which I never thought being pop R&B guy, I never thought in a million years I'd need to make a country record. But honestly, his voice was so great. I walked into a bar, saw him play, and went, "Wait a second, that guy's great. I got to record his record." And so there have been things like that that I've started doing more in the last few years that I've been really enjoying.
That's awesome. That, I think it's like a natural evolution of when you've kind of gone through it yourself. It's that I imagine both imparting wisdom, but also knowing what you're looking for in terms of that kind of process and being able to offer that to someone else.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a lot of reading the room. And speaking of that, I mean, somebody who is a master of that is our friend Jim Scott, who produced this latest Red Green Blue album along with our other friend David Garza. And the two of them as a production team with us was really powerful and really cool. And I learned a lot from both of them. We all did. But Jim is the master of vibe. He understands how to keep the record moving forward in a productive way, and is really good about telling you when to stop, and take a breather, and walk away and come back. Because he's kind of that outside voice. He's not always giving you too much input, but he's giving you the right input at the right time is the way I would put it, and making sure that the experience in the studio itself, which we recorded at his actual studio, his space, in California, it was really insightful and really important. And I think it'll help me in the future on whatever other records outside of our band that, I work on. Jim definitely, taught me a lot about that process.
That's very cool. I wanted to touch on very quickly. I know that obviously Hanson, any interview kind of media appearance, I think you guys might have been on the project in Australia a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
There's a certain track that's always brought up. It's always MMMBop, which is a fantastic track, and do not get me wrong. But I imagine that for yourselves, after 25 years, not that it gets tired, but I feel like Middle of Nowhere, as a body of work as a whole, there's so much more going on that record than that one track. There is a lot more going on that record than I think people kind of peripherally might know. I mean, MMMBop is a song we are all very, very proud of. I mean, why wouldn't you be? And luckily enough, also a song that the three of us wrote, on our own. We of all the co-writes that we did, and there were many different co-writes that we did for that record, including co-writes with our longtime friend and producer Mark Hudson, who worked on both our Christmas records as well as our album This Time Around, and as well, and Stephen Laroni actually worked on that, and also we wrote some songs with him too. So I mean, there were a lot of different people. Weil and Mann, amazing songwriting duo, wrote things like You Lost That Loving Feeling, amongst other things. So classic, incredible songwriters. Desmond Child wrote a song called Weird with us on that record. Again, a song we're immensely proud of. But at the end of the day, MMMBop is the song that everybody knows and hears, and it is one of the poppiest songs on that record for sure. If nothing else, just because of the chorus. And I think that's the interesting thing about that song, which is both the thing that made it a hit and also the thing I think that puts us in this interesting situation where, because there aren't actual lyrics in the chorus, the context of the song is a little bit more cheery feeling than it probably is in reality. Because for us, that song was very much, it started as a song about rejection and feeling like we were, weirdos trying to chase this music business idea and trying to be performers and all that kind of stuff, and got plenty of, kickback and rejection from friends and so on. But we leaned into it and, had our biggest hit from learning to work through rejection, which also songs like Weird deal with directly too. So that's probably been a theme throughout most of our career, is something along the lines of never really feeling quite like we fit in a particular box and always feeling like the underdog. I can very much understand that. I think, there are, again, with no discredit to MMMBop, because it is a great pop track. There are just, I think Lucy is a fantastic track on that record.
I love that song.
Yeah, just great record.
I think my favorite songs on those records are and this is true of several of the records, but some of the really groovy, funky stuff is really fun to play live. songs like Look at You, songs like Speechless. There's a song called I've Got Soul on our album called Anthem, which is very similar. So there are a lot of songs that pick up on these very like kind of funk R&B influences that we grew up with. And so there's a lot of stuff on those records that I think people would be surprised if you played them, the song Look at You or Speechless off of Middle of Nowhere. They'd be like, who's that band? And it'd be like, oh, well, that's on the same record as MMMBop. They'd be like, huh? They're like, it takes all kinds.
Look, we just have to keep getting the word out there, pushing the word that there are other songs of great merit on these records.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Isaac, I'd be very remiss if I didn't ask this. We do have some very close personal friends of the podcast, Caitlin, Cassidy, and Maddie, who are very big Hanson fans. So firstly, I'll say hello to you from them. Secondly, part of this, they're wanting to know, and other people are wanting to know as well, the RGB World Tour, it is kicking off in June. There are Australian dates yet to be announced, but can we expect to see you here at some point this year?
Yes, that is the short answer. We are in the process of getting everything confirmed. As you can imagine, it's been a little bit complicated. The last couple of years have created some complications for us confirming concert dates, but there is stuff very much in the process, and I can say with certainty that we will have shows in Australia, and there will be stuff to announce probably right around the time of the record actually coming out. So with any luck, we'll be both celebrating the actual album release as well as telling you exactly what cities and exactly, what places we're going to be playing. And we're really excited. I mean, Australia has been such an amazing place to get to know over the years, having traveled down to Australia since the late 90s. And in a lot of ways, it's kind of a home away from home. It feels very familiar and also just different enough. And we've got a lot of great friends down there too. So we're excited to be able to say that we'll be playing down there for sure.
Well, I know that there are people who are very excited to have you back and go see you in concert. Isaac, thank you again for your time today. I appreciate it, and congrats on the record.
Thank you very much. Good to talk to you.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Isaac Hanson for his time. Hanson's newest single, Write You a Song, is out now, and Red, Green, Blue is out May 20th. We've left links in the show notes if you'd like to pre-order the record. We also want to give a huge shout out to Nicole at Nicole Stringer Communications for helping out with today's interview. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Wednesday and Friday morning, and we now have a Patreon, which you can find within the show notes of this episode. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify, and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.